Main man himself, DC_Darlin, back in the place with yet another one. I just got like a couple of double hubbers from Maggie, and that's one of the reasons why I'm gonna do this React episode, because she just like did a hubber on my account. In case you like what I do, just go ahead, go hubber.com/DC_Darlin, link in the video description down below. Make sure you do a hubber. Anyway, besides the point, so I'm gonna jump to Fiverr. And so today I got a task from an amazing person, and she was like, yo, create a React app that interacts with a GitHub API. One of the components should make a request to GitHub's API endpoint, store the response in state, and then render a list of your first 5 repos, name and URL link. Think of this page as a mini resume. This app should not have any class components and should use hooks to manage your state. So this is what we're going to handle today. Relatively straightforward, super simple. So without further ado, let's jump straight to it. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open my terminal. Probably going to bump up the font so that you guys see what I'm doing. So I'm going to cd into my desktop and up. Okay, we don't need that. So let's create a React app, and we're going to call it hooks. So npx create React app, and we're going to call this one the hooks. Okay, hit enter and let it install. So let's fast forward this process. Sweet, we are done. Apologies for the background noise. My fan is making a lot of noise lately. So let's cd into hooks, and I'm going to open this in Visual Studio Code and exit from my terminal. Okay, I'm going to open my integrated terminal. That's Control-tilde. Then again, I'm going to bump up the font just to make sure that you guys can see what I'm doing. I think that's big enough. Now, this is just like standard React app, generated by CRA, create React app. And when it comes to using hooks, you want to make sure that you have React 16.3, I'm guessing. And above, we have 16.13, so that's good enough. Now let's start our server. Let's just start this app. We're going to do yarn start. And it's going to, compile everything, and it's going to start the development server. Sweet, so we have our React app up and running. So let's get rid of some of the boilerplate and start working on the components. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to close package.json. We're going to go to source, and let's start with index.js. Now, we don't need the service worker. It's not important for now. Everything looks good for now. Let's get rid of that. I'm going to leave index.css. I'm going to go ahead and delete logo.svg. I'm going to delete service worker. I'm going to delete the test because we're not doing any tests in this video. I'm also going to delete app.test. I'm going to delete app.css. Now, we have an error, so let's check app. Now, we don't have logo.svg, so we're going to delete that. And over here, all I want to do is I want to do an h2 and say hello, for example. With that, everything should be a-okay. App.css is not there, so we want to get rid of this because we're not using it. Okay, should be good to go. No, we are not. Okay, app.css. Okay, we want to get rid of that. Oh, sorry. Oh, deleted index.css. We need that one. Okay, so we have hello. So that's good enough. Now, the first thing we want to do is we want to have a couple of components. So if I go back on the message on Fiverr, we want to have a React app that integrates with the GitHub API. One of the components should make a request to GitHub API's endpoint, store the response in state, and then render a list of first 5 repositories, name and URL link. Okay, so we want to have sort of a search bar to search and find someone's Git repo, and then when we find that repo, we want to be able to display a list of their repositories. So let's go ahead and play with some markup. So we are going to go ahead and create a components folder. Now let's think about it. How do we want this whole thing to look like? We have app over here, which is rendering hello, but we want to have like a search bar. Okay, so probably let me just wrap everything in a div. We want to have search bar, and maybe we want to have results. I know the names could be better, but this is going to work for now. So let's go ahead and create these two components. So new file, we're going to create search bar.js, and we're going to pull in React from React search bar, and we're just going to do an h2 again. It was going to be search bar, so we need to return that. Let's export default search bar. Okay, sweet. I'm gonna copy everything here, and the next component that we want is results. So we're gonna create a new file, and that is results.js. I'm gonna paste everything there, but the only thing I'm gonna change is search bar to results. Okay, so let's go ahead and import this too. I don't know if okay, I can't auto import it because I'm not using TypeScript. So import search from components search bar. Let's pull results. So that's components results. Okay, sweet. Now let's have a look at what we have. We have search bar and results. Okay, we're not going to think about styling, to be honest. That's for one of the day. So let's go ahead and make the search bar a search bar indeed. So what we're going to do is we're going to wrap everything in a div, and over here we want to have an input, which is type text. Okay, we probably need a placeholder or something. It's going to be search. Okay, so let's have a look at that. We have this and results. Okay, so it doesn't look so good, so maybe let's add some style, maybe some padding. So padding, let's give it maybe something like what, 20 pixels. Let's have a look at that. Okay, yeah, that's gonna work for now. So results is just going to be a list of stuff. So something like what, ul, and then li, maybe repo1, for example. Save that. Let's have a look. So that's how everything is going to look like. Maybe let's just add a heading saying repo search or something like that. I don't have a fancy name, so let's put in an h1 repo search. Okay, let's have a look. Sweet, that's good enough. So we're done with the markup. The next thing we want to do is we want to start playing with the GitHub API and pulling in the repos and all that good stuff. Okay, so I'm gonna open a new tab, and we're gonna find GitHub API. What we're interested in is the repositories, and as you can see, we want to list repositories of a user. So this is what we want. So ideally we want to make a GET request to users, username, repos. Sweet. So let's get to that. So we're back to searchbar.js. There's a couple of things we need to do before we fetch our data. The first one is we need to add a button, and this one, it's gonna have search as the text. So let's look at our button real quick. So we have this. So we want when a user types in a given GitHub profile, GitHub username, and they click on search, then we want to display the repos where we have repo1. So that's the workflow as of now. Okay, so let's implement that. Okay, so let's start by setting default state. That means we need to pull in use state hook from React. Now with that, what we want to have is we want the search input. So let's call this search input and set search input is going to be equal to use state, and the initial state is nothing. So over here we want to set the value to be equal to search input. Okay, so let's add an onChange handler, which is going to be equal to handle change, for example, and let's create this one. Handle change is going to be equal to that. Want to pass in e as a parameter. Okay, so we want to get the value of e and set it to search input. So search input is going to be e.target.value set search input, sorry. Okay, sweet. So anytime you type in here, we want to update the state with the relevant stuff. Now on the button, we want to set an on-click listener. It's going to be equal to handle, if I can type correctly, click. Okay, now let's create that handle click, which is going to be that. We don't have a form, so we don't need to prevent default or anything like that. So over here, what we want to do is let's just log search input. Okay, sweet. So let's see this in action. I'm going to go back to the browser and open our console. Okay, so ideally when I search for something, and let's look at the console, and I click search, we get something. Sweet. That's exactly what we want. So the next step is we want to start pulling the data from our Github API. Okay, so that we know that we successfully have the specific user profile name by typing it here, and you click search, then we get it logged onto a console. So we have it as search input. The next thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and pull that repo, that user's name and the relevant repos off of GitHub API. So to do that, I'm going to start making API calls. I like using Axios, so I'm going to go ahead and add Axios. Okay, while it's installing, let's go ahead and pull data off of it. So we want to make this an async function, okay, because we want to use a wait on Axios. So let's call this result. Is going to be await Axios, and now in here is where we're going to add the endpoint to GitHub. So let's pull in Axios. Okay, sweet. Now with that, we also want to set this result to state. So let's call it repos, for example. So const repos, and set repos is going to be equal to use state, and the initial state is going to be an empty array. Sweet. So result is that. The next thing we want to do, of course, is we want to set repos, and we want to set result. Okay. Now let's get the GitHub API endpoint to get repos of a particular user. So I'm going to go ahead and paste the required endpoint, and over here on the username placeholder, I am going to add our username, which is search input. Okay, so search input is what we're searching over here. Anything that we search. If your GitHub username is something like let's say user, and we click search, so we are going to append user to the search input key over here. Okay, sweet. So we have everything we need. The last thing that we want to do is we want to catch any possible errors in case things don't go as planned. And to do that, we're going to add a try catch block, and let's just have error and console.log any possible errors. So with that, I'm going to cut this too, and I'm going to paste it on the try block. Sweet. That means we have everything that we need. Yeah, so the last thing I probably want to do is I want to log our result. So that is repos. Okay, now let's test this out. So I'm going to go back to the browser and I am going to search for one, for example, and I'm going to click search, and we can see we get some data going on. Okay, nice. So there's one more change we need to do. Looking at the way we have structured our components, let me close this real quick. We cannot pass state freely the way we want, because when you look at app.js, we have search bar and results on the same level. We can use context, of course, but that's not the scope of this tutorial. So what I'm going to do instead, I am going to cut results, and I will remove it here as well. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add results to the search bar. So down here, I am going to paste results. And of course, we want to make sure that there's only one wrapping tag. And I am going to import results. Okay, so ideally everything should just look the same as it did. And that's what we have. Sweet. So the next agenda is to pass results, the repos, to our results. So this is fairly simple. We're going to pass it as props. So let's just call it repos. And this repos is going to be equal to this repos, which we are now populating. So I'm going to get rid of this console log statement, and I am going to paste repos over here. Okay, I will save that. Now let's just confirm and sort of validate that, you know, we are indeed passing repos to our results component. To do that, we want to get props, and we want to destructure it from here. So const equals to props. Now this is repos. Now let's go ahead and log repos is, and that's repos. Okay, let's look at our terminal once again, and here we're going to search for my GitHub username, and I'm going to click on search, and we get my public repositories. Amazing. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is we want to map to the results and you know, display it. So that's going to be fairly straightforward. What we want to do is let's create a constant, and we're going to call it list repos, for example. I know my naming is terrible today, and it's going to be equal to repos.map. We want to pass a function over there. Now let's call this item. Okay. And over here, we want to set our li tags and pass in item. Okay, I guess it's item dot. Let's quickly look at our what we're getting back. Data. Yeah, so we're not getting what we want. And looking at the GitHub API, we want to do users, the username, and then the repos. So users, username, and then /repos. Save that real quick. I am going to comment this out for a minute just to look at the shape of the repos. Let's go back to a React app, and I'm going to type in my username, click search. And there we go. We get an array with data. So this is what we want. This is where our repo's at. Okay, so that's data. Let's just try this one more time to make sure that we're getting exactly what we want. I'm gonna click search exactly, and we get the public repositories. Okay, so we're gonna go back and uncomment this. So list of repos, we want to map that, and over here we just want to have item dot repos dot data dot map. Okay, now we want to get the name of the repo. So dot name. So item dot name. Okay. Okay, let's quickly get rid of that and that and that. Okay, sweet. So we want to return list repos over here. Delete that, save. Let's see what we get. So we're getting an error because repos may be null. So that's what we need to fix. So if repos.length, you know, just to so if repos has something in it, this is what we want to do. Else we just want to say, you know, nothing. So I'm just gonna return an li, an li, and I'll be like, no repos found. Okay, so let's clean this up by getting rid of this li over here. Let's save and have a look. Okay, no repos found, but if I search for my name and I hit search, so we need to evaluate this is not equal to 0. If the length of the array is not equal to 0, then you want to map, else just say no repos found. Let's save and have a look now. We have no repos found. Let's search for my GitHub username. And indeed we find repos. We're getting a warning because we need to add the key prop. That's easy. We'll need a unique identifier. In this case, we're just going to use ID. So over here, we're going to set key is going to be equal to item.id. Let's save and have a look. Okay, so we have no repos found. If we do 1, I'm guessing there's a GitHub username 1, and we get some repos. Sweet. Okay, now when we go back to Fiverr, there's one gotcha over here. They want you to render a list of your first 5 repositories. So to do that, we are going to slice this. So repos.data.slice, and we want 5, so that's going to be 0.5. We're going to save that. Let's try this one more time. I'm going to search for my GitHub repository. I'm going to click search and we get the first 5. Okay, so we're almost done. There's one step missing. Now we want to add the URL link. Okay, so going back to our React app, and when we look at this, we get the URL link. Yeah, so we want to get the HTML_URL. So it's going to be as easy as adding an anchor tag on the list item. So over here, href equals 2, and then we're going to put item name in between the anchor tag, and the href is going to be item dot, let's look at it again, HTML_URL. Save that and let's have a look. So let's search for my GitHub profile again, and then as you can see, they're now links, and when I click on them, it redirects me to the relevant Git repo. Okay, that's about it. It's taken longer than I expected, but yeah, we are done. Make sure you hit the subscribe button just so you get notified anytime I drop some heat. And in case you're in the streets of Nairobi, please don't forget to go harbor on my account. You don't need to sign up. All you got to do is select an amount. Your phone number is needed because of the SDK push. And then you can write your name and message, which are optional, and click on Harbor. That's it for today, guys. Bye-bye.